Hmm. Hmm. Where's Burn? Um, Burn should be always in tier 1 deck, right? What? Wait a minute. Where's Burn? Where's Burn? Ah.
What is going on, guys? My name is ggforgoblinguide. How are you doing? In this video, I'm gonna talk about some problems that we have with the burn deck right now, a brief history of where this problem comes from, and finally I'm gonna talk about some solutions that we can do in the near future for burn, or maybe just other alternative for a red deck win deck in modern. So let's get started. So, what is the problem with the Burn deck right now? First of all, Burn is a deck that is too fair. As a Burn player, you want to win on turn 4, turn 5, depending on your draw on turn 6, if you're a bit unlucky. Um, and your opponent can just gain 3 life, and then you have to win on turn 7. They can gain another 3, you have to win on turn 8, and so on. And right now, there are a lot of good life gain cards in Modern that has been printed in the last few years. And I'd say the biggest problem is that the best decks, the tier 1 decks, are good decks to beat Burn. So Burn has a lot of bad matchups right now. Like Ad Nauseam is being played a lot. 4-color Uro, Selesnya Titan. There's Hilliard Company, of course, which is like horrible for us. And that's pretty much a huge problem. Burn doesn't have enough powerful tools to beat those decks, and it doesn't have like a cheese way to win. It just wants to win turn 4 by casting burn spells. So that's the big problem we have right now. So what happened to modern Burn in the last few years, or just what happened to Magic the Gathering in general? Um, if we go a little bit back at the start of Modern, Modern was a format that it always had unfair decks, but it also had decks that were really, really fair. Like playing an Agenis Vengeance on turn 4 was a good play. Like you like it. That was good, and that was fair. And more and more that we got into the formats, unfair decks were created. Sometimes they were banned, sometimes they were not banned for long years. Um, but there were not a lot of bannings in Modern. There never has been a lot of bannings in Magic in general. And in the last few years, the Wizard of the Coast decided to print like really, really pushed cards, like cards that are so powerful that they just on their own break a format. They create decks on their own, like this card is the center of the deck. Um, or you want to splash 2 colors just to play the card. Like, for example, there was Simic Eldrazi, which was playing splashing blue and green to play Okos. That's pretty crazy. Um, and those type of cards are printed a lot lately. And what happens to fair decks when those cards are printed? Fair decks are taking a step back, or they adapt by playing themselves push cards. Like Jund is a super fair deck, but is playing Ren and 6, and Ren and 6 is a push card that can win the game on his own. And when they print push cards that also gain life, like Oko, Uro, Omnath, Heliod, Burn has a lot of difficulties to beat those cards because there are cards that Burn cannot beat easily. They cannot get bolted, for example, and over time they're gonna gain life. So you have either you deal with it or you try to win as fast as possible. So if your opponent plays a Omnath and you have only 2 bolts in hand, do you bolt the Omnath in response to the draw trigger, bolt, or you just go face? It depends, of course, what's the life total of the opponent. But that's just an example. Same thing for Uro. Do you double bolt it? Same thing for Oko when it was in Modern. Do you double, triple bolt it? Those type of cards are taking one card and they are taking away like 2 or 3 cards from the burn player, and that's pretty crazy. Sometimes they're going to be one for like 4 or 5 because, for example, Omnath comes into play, you draw a card, so that's already 1 for 2. Then you put a land, you gain 4, so that's a 1 for 3. Then you fetch, you gain 4 on the upkeep, of course. That's a 1 for 5, and so on. Same thing for Uro, gain 3, draw a card, put a land. So those types of cards are really, really hard for fair decks to beat. And Burn is pretty much a fair aggro deck, so that is why it's very, very difficult for Burn to beat those types of cards. And I hope Wizard of the Coast stop printing like really push cards, because a lot of bannings has been done in the last few years, and I think players don't really enjoy that. But again, I'm not going to go into full details. Let's just go to the solutions and maybe what we could do with Burn in the near future. So, what are the solutions as a Burn player that we can do? Well, there is like a easy solution that we have no power on, is just to wait on Wizard of the Coast to ban a card. We have no power on this, unfortunately. And I don't think Wizard of the Coast is going to ban a card in Modern anytime soon because of all the events going on. There are not a lot of big tournaments of Modern tournaments right now, so I don't think there's going to be a ban soon. Maybe. I don't know. Other alternatives, we can try to play with a better sideboard against Euro decks and live gain decks, or just put more cards, hate live gain cards in our main deck. But unfortunately, I tried those 2 solutions and it didn't work really well. In the last 2 weeks, unrecorded, I tried a lot of lists of Burn, Boros, Ragdolls, Naya, Monored, and it didn't work quite well. I had in the leagues like 60% win rate, which is pretty good, but it's nothing extraordinary. In the bigger tournaments like the Modern Challenges, I have like a 45% win rate, because in the challenges and in the qualifiers there are a lot more Euro decks, a lot more Heliod deck. And in a 9-round tournament, playing against like 2 or 3 Heliod is very difficult as a Burn player. The last solution that I see and I tried and it worked, so there's hope, is just try to play another deck for the moment. If you really want to get those wins, I believe there are better decks, better red decks right now in Modern. If you just really love Burn to the point that you just want to play Burn, that's fine. If you have a lot of great success in your local game store, that's also fine. Continue playing it. But for me, that is playing on MTGO, it's a bit hard to have success right now with Burn. I tried Monored Aggro, because I believe this is a very, very powerful red deck win right now in Modern. And I had a lot of success with the deck. I did 6 leagues and I ended up with a 84% win rate, which is pretty good. I did 2 5-0s in a row, and that was pretty insane, against Euro decks as well. What I like about the deck is that it's very aggressive with your Monastery Swiftspear and your Soulscar Mage. You can win on turn 3 if you have Lava Darts. But it can also play the more mid-rangey control decks, the more mid-rangey control games with your Seasoned Pyromancer, your Light Up the Stage, Firebolt, Lava Dart, Bone Crusher. You have a lot of cards that provides you value. You have your Companion, of course, that is like an extra card in your hand. And that's those types of games are going to be a lot of micro decision, and it's going to pay off if you make the good decisions. So that's also rewarding. If you believe you're like a very extraordinary player, Mono and Aggro is a pretty difficult deck when the game goes super grindy. If you're playing as like Tron, of course, you just want to be as most aggressive. But if you're playing against like a Jund or 4-color Euro, the deck can be super grindy. And finally, what I like about the deck is that you have Blood Moon at your disposal to just cheese out some wins out there. In my 5-0s, I believe I won like 1 round just because of Blood Moon. I played Blood Moon turn 3 2 games in a row, and I just won like that, which is pretty nice. Modern Aggro is great. Another deck that I like that is playing a bit like Red Deck Win deck is Ragdoll Shadow. This deck is not exactly a Red Deck Win deck because you have like a lot of black cards like Thoughtseize, Dismember, you have Cruxa, so you have a lot of like discard spells. But that's also a very nice deck if you like Burn because it's a bit like a Blitz deck, but with Thoughtseize, so Disruption. And finally, there are also the Blitz deck, which are very fast. Mono Red Blitz is that Blitz are, I think, are still pretty good because they are faster than Burn. They're gonna be more cheesy than Burn, getting more wins on turn 3. So that's another good alternative. So that's pretty much about it for my solutions, the near future. I hope they're gonna ban like the problematic cards like Uro and Omnath. I hope maybe Burn's gonna get one of those push cards, but unfortunately Burn is like it's the same cards like deal 3 damage, and I mean maybe someday it's gonna be another lightning bolt, but really strong other lightning bolt. um, so if you enjoyed the video, definitely let me know by smashing the like button and subscribing to my YouTube channel, which I put Modern Burn, and now maybe it's gonna be more Red Deck Wins content every single week. I'm gonna play a little bit more Mono Red Aggro if you want me to play that. Of course, if you still want me to play Burn, I'm gonna continue playing Burn, of course. And definitely let me know in the comment section below if you think I'm right, I'm wrong about certain things, and if you just enjoyed the video, this topic, or you just never want me to talk about that ever again. So this has been ggforgoblinguide. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.